I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Marv B, and you are listening to another episode of the Man Listen Show. Before we get started, let's hear a few words from our sponsors.
DD's Daiquiris is your #1 supplier of premium daiquiri mixes. You will love the taste of our classic margarita and signature strawberry mixes. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at DD's Daiquiris. DD is spelled D-E-E-D-E-E. You can also find us at www.dd'sdaiquiris.com. DD's Daiquiris, giving good vibes to good people, one good drink at a time.
Please buy the new book by Arika Nicole Moore, Diabolical Tales of Woe. Diabolical Tales of Woe is a thrilling collection of short horror stories that leave you in an excited trepidation to see what will happen next. Prepare to face one horrific encounter after the next in this captivating novel. You can find this book on Amazon in the Kindle and paperback version. That is Diabolical Tales of Woe by Arika Nicole Moore.
More Grace Counseling and Mediation Services offers individual and relationship counseling as well as mediation services to the community. At More Grace, healthy partnerships are valuable and beneficial. Please visit the website www.moregracecounseling.com for more information about our approach to counseling. More Grace Counseling and Mediation Services, where we offer more grace and more healing.
Conversate with Us Radio presents the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the Black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% Black all the time. Please follow the show on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. You can also subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, basically anywhere you can find your podcast. Make sure you give us a thumbs up, make sure you leave a comment, and make sure you tell everybody about the blackest radio show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. I'm your host, Mark B. So, the Olympics is going on, y'all, and, it's been a tough one for Team USA. The United States lost its first basketball game, men's team lost its first basketball game, but most importantly and most recently, Simone Biles pulled herself from the team competition. Team USA went on to win the silver medal. And most recently, she just announced that she's pulling herself from the individual competition as well. She's citing, mental health reasons. I've read an article where I guess this is a gymnastics term, she felt like she had the twisties. And I guess twisties is where when you get into the air once you're performing a stunt and you lose control of your body or where you're at in the air, and it's a very dangerous thing. So, she's been going through a lot. There's been a lot of, pressure from her, obviously pressure just to compete in the Olympics and to hold up the standard that she set for herself. But then all the different stuff that's happened to her in terms of stunts that she wanted to perform that weren't being judged fairly. A lot of scrutiny from the media, from the right side, just a lot going on with this young woman. So apparently it took its toll and she decided to step aside. So a lot of people have strong opinions on each side. I kind of know where everybody on our side is going to be, but we're going to talk about it today. So Arika, you are in the gymnastics world. We're going to start with you. What did you think?
I think it's great. I think the title of the show says it all. Like, she don't owe them shit. And really, the fact that they've been treating her so unfairly, I think it's amazing that she was like, well, when go without me then. And she's talked previously about how she was upset that COVID postponed the Olympics because she was ready to be done. So she was ready to be done last year. So to have to wait and spend another year of her life preparing and then not have her head in it. Like they said, the stuff that she's doing is so difficult and complex. She could seriously injure herself if she loses where she is in the air And she was doing a lot of things that were very uncharacteristic for her. And so, however she was feeling and however it was taking a toll on her, I'm glad that she stood up for what she knew was right and decided to just fall back and take a break. Because that's the best thing that any of us can do, is recognize when, we're overwhelmed, or if how we're proceeding is not the best way to go, to change course.
One of the things that I saw people say was that even though she didn't compete, or she pulled herself from in the middle of the competition, she still was, one of the best teammates they had. She was, constantly cheering them on, great disposition. And from what people told me, because I'll be honest, I haven't really watched gymnastics a lot over the last few years, but I am familiar with her because of her success. They say that she's really kind of like a coach slash teammate anyway. Like, she's constantly giving advice and pushing her teammates, and there wasn't any pushback from them at all, because I think they recognize, hey, we're not even in a position to be getting the silver medal stateside or in Tokyo if it ain't for Simone. So she wanted to fall back. Who are we to say? Because can't none of us do what she do. So yeah, I applaud her. But go ahead, lad. What'd you think, bro?
No, obviously, like you said up front, we pretty much all know where we come on, what side of the line we're on. The first thing I thought about, though, is because I did see people talking about if LeBron had done that, or if Tom Brady quit in the Super Bowl and all this stuff, basically saying she's quitting. But I tell you what honestly popped into my mind, since she wears the GOAT on her leotard, or whatever you want to call her uniform. I'm not sure if that's the right word. Thinking back on it now, that's probably what led Mike MJ, the GOAT, to retire the first time. Is there so much pressure and so much other stuff off the field of play that goes into it? A lot of times our athletes, they do something because they do it well. They play basketball because they do it well. They play football because they do it well. They don't necessarily love it like that. And so when all the stuff off the field, off the mat, gets to be, I'm not even gonna say overwhelming, but it just gets to be something you just don't feel like dealing with, it can, not put you in the right mindset mentally. And when you're used to being the top of your game, if you're off just one tiny bit mentally and you don't feel like you can perform to your own standard, hey, go ahead and take the time for yourself. It's also ironic that she did what was best for herself, right? Not necessarily what was best for quote unquote Team USA. The people criticizing her are the same people that claim wearing masks is what's best for them and not what's best for the quote unquote Team USA. So it's just,
not wearing masks.
Yeah, not wearing masks. Yeah,
Right.
And so I just thought that was kind of a ironic twist to it as well.
Yeah, nice pun. Ironic twist. I like that. I saw something on social media where they talked about this young lady who had performed a stunt and she was in pain, like she was injured. And, the coach kept asking her, can you do it again? Can you do it again? And she was like, do I have to go again? Something was wrong with her leg or whatever. And she continued to perform. And as she did it, after she, did what she had to do for the team, she was done with gymnastics. That injury put her out. And I remember as a young man, we all know, Lav, you probably remember, Enrique, you may have been too young, Mary Lou Retton. Mary Lou Retton, when she did her vault and she was injured and how she had to push through. So there's really a certain sort of exploitation of these girls gymnastics athletes that I think people need to talk about. I mean, Simone was a part of the hundreds of young women who were molested by that coach. I believe his last name was Nasser. And they just came out with news about how he's not paying the athletes restitution, but he's able to spend all kind of money on himself. So there's a bit of exploitation to these athletes that her taking this stance is big for all of them, because, how many young girls will say, hey, listen, I'm injured, I'm hurt. And the coach is like, just do it for the team, just do it for the team, whether it be to their long-term detriment. So her taking this stance is a big thing.
To go back to what you said about her being a coach, what I didn't know prior to us attending the Olympic trials a little while ago was that Jordan, the other girl on the team, was not doing well. And she left her gym, and her coach, who was allegedly, verbally abusive or whatever, and like really kind of hard on her, she left that gym and went to Simone Biles' gym. And now look, she's in the Olympics. And her pulling out, it didn't hurt them. It allowed them to participate in events that they wouldn't have participated in. So everyone on the team participates in events that they're strong in. So I'm assuming Simone participates in all of them, and then two other girls who are strong, who are the strongest, gets to participate. So at that point, they all got to participate in events that they wouldn't have participated in. So that why would they be upset, about that being able to, you know, give their best for the team? And I think that her standing up for herself solidifies her as the GOAT. I mean, she's in a class of her own skill wise, but being able to say that my personal well being is most important is something that a true leader would do, because you have to do what's best in the long run for overall success, not the short term success. And she's got other things going on in October. She'll be back here in St. Louis doing her GOAT tour, Gold Over America tour. And so they're going to be doing some type of performing, but it'll be more kind of secular, more, I guess, appealing to the audiences. But she could jeopardize all of that by pushing herself too hard here, and then in that whole tour, just because they want her to do something that she's not really even feeling anymore. So I think that it's a credit to her as a leader, as a coach type, as just a teammate, that she recognizes what's most important. And it's not winning a gold or winning a game, it's doing your best at something that you love, or something like Lav said that you excel at, and then going from there. But that's not more important than your well-being, what you're good at, or what your job is.
And I think when we talk about gymnastics specifically, we have to realize just how young these, we call them women, but really they're young girl. A lot of they're girls. A lot of them are teenagers still, high school students. And you know the body images, they get criticized for that kind of stuff as well. And so I can only imagine what she's gone through, so yeah, I have no problem with what she did at all whatsoever.
So she's 24 years old, and I looked at the ages. So she just missed the cut on being a millennial. And one of the things that I said about millennials that I really respect, a lot of people give a lot of flack to millennials, but one thing that I credit millennials with is that they are not going to stay in a situation that doesn't benefit them long term. You know, we came up in the L Lab and I, because Rika's a millennial. We came up, I thought she was a millennial.
1980 or after.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
that
you
ain't
Yes.
it.
Yes.
81 and
Yes.
after. 81 and after.
Yeah.
You're a
There
millennial.
you go. Yep.
What do you
That's
want?
Millennial.
bull too.
36.
Millennial.
Well, I was born in 81, so just pretend
Millennial.
that's not true.
So you're millennial. Okay,
No.
so there's a bridge between um generation X, because after the baby boomers, the generation X, and then there's the millennials, right? So like me and Lab, our age, we don't really fit with a lot of the Gen Xers, because I won't go into the stereotypes and the beliefs I have about them, but we also have some of the qualities of millennials. So they call it Xennials, or it starts with an X. They take Generation X and meld it with millennial. So we kind of fall into that mode. But like Arika, I think you might be a Xennial, but you definitely fall in the millennial crowd. But my whole point was, for us as Generation X, we were taught, hey man, you power through that, especially as Black men. You know what I'm saying? You got a job, you got a family you taking care of, or whatever. It don't matter if you don't like what you're doing. You power through that, and you do what you got to do to take care of yourself, take care of your family. Whereas these millennials is like, man, shoot, I ain't doing this. F that, I'm gone. And not only that, I want a 10% raise. If you ain't give me a 10% raise, I'm out, and I'm about to get it somewhere else. And people have, like, they say they have these illusions of grandeur, but like, honestly, I kind of respect it, because I've been that person who stayed on the job for 10 years, hating every day going to work because I was just like, you know what, I got a family and I'm scared to do something different, and this is a steady check, killing myself inside. So she's of that age. She's not a millennial, but you know what I respect about the young people is that they're not just going to stand for anything. And I think again, she's setting a good example, especially with, you know, like you said, the exploitation of these young girls, you know, the molestation and the different things they go through. You know, I just couldn't imagine. You know, I had children who were athletes. My son was the most dominant one, but I couldn't imagine the type of pitfalls and traps you have to guard your child from, especially in gymnastics.
When I started working on the case, the Larry Nassar case, not directly in an indirect capacity, so I got to see a lot of the actual documents and stuff about the case. I thought about taking my child out of gymnastics. I started going and watching. I don't do that anymore because she's there for 4 hours, 3 days a week, and nobody has 12 hours to do gymnastics like a gymnast. But it was difficult to even just read about and hear about what these young girls went through and are still going through, and then just expect people to just push forward because USA wants to dominate over Russia or whoever, everybody, because USA is USA. But I mean, I'm not bending over backwards to do nothing for USA. So maybe I guess if that's what the millennials are on, maybe I do have a little millennial in me because I don't care. They be mad at me. The only place I stand for the Pledge of Allegiance is when my daughter is competing because I don't want them looking at me crazy and judging my daughter off just because of me. But anywhere else, I'd be like this. No, they be looking at me. I'm like, so I'm not standing up. I'm not singing with y'all. I'm not doing any of this stuff because I mean, I just don't care. And they can't make me care. That's going to be the hard part about, having a real job is that you actually have to kind of a little bit care. But it's so many jobs out there, so many different things you could do. Really, you have to be the type of person that's going to stand up for yourself because like you said, you killing yourself inside for 10 years and for what? Like what do you have to show for it from that job? Like the stability at the time, but the long-term impact, as we've talked about the mental health struggles that, you know, different one of us have had at different times, is part of that is directly related to how we're spending all of our days doing these jobs, taking on other people's stress, that's me, and then whatever else people are doing and how they're like foregoing what they really want to do or where they really want to be for the sake of some type of security that doesn't really exist because jobs can fire you whenever they feel like it. It's just a false sense of security that we kind of hang on to, that once we stop giving that sense of security to our children and they started doing something different with it, that started giving them more power in the marketplace because now jobs are like, well, I got to actually try to retain these people. I can't just take them on a lunch and then everybody stop asking for raises. I actually got to give out some raises. So it's good to me.
We're
I
not,
think
we're not gonna have a pizza party. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we had a record year last year, and hey, and
Yeah.
I've actually been in offices where they did that. We had a
No,
record year
I
last
know.
year. We're gonna have a pizza party with some cake. Nah, man, give me some duckies. Give me.
yeah.
Yeah, give me some equity in what I
Right,
built,
right,
some
right,
sweat
right, right.
equity, something,
You
man.
know, and not to make it about me, but you know, when I was working that job, it did take a toll on me mentally, you know, because you start to think like, man, what kind of loser am I? You know, I'm stuck in this, and you know, you can have a trained monkey do this job. And I was in insurance, I was in claims. So from the beginning of my days to the end of the day, on the weekends or whatever, I was dealing with people who were out there worse. They were injured in a car wreck. So when they calling me, they weren't in a pleasant mood. And I was just, you know, bringing all that in, bringing all that in, bringing all that in with no release, with nothing. And it's very taxing. So to finally say, you know what, I'm stepping away from this, it was one of the best moves I made because I probably wouldn't have made it. I probably would still be here because of the stress that goes along with that. So I'm also glad that, you know, we have taken strides in putting mental health in the forefront. There's a lot of people who a lot of the detractors try to say, well, she let her team down. She let her country down. First of all, we just talked about she didn't let her team down because the team wouldn't have been there without her. And then she don't owe this country nothing. Her country owes her. So let's just put that out there. But people who are trying to say mental health, using mental health as a cop out, I kind of get what they're saying, because I know there's some people who do use it as, sort of a manipulation tool, but only you can judge, what's going on with you. And if you're trying to do that, people will see through it. But I don't think that's the case with this young woman. I think that she definitely was dealing with a lot, dealing with the haters and dealing with, basically, let's put it out there, white supremacy, global white supremacy, not just the USA white supremacy, global white supremacy, with all the limitations they were trying to put on her to keep her from being what she truly is, the GOAT.
That reminds me of that like saying or that meme where the boss gets a new Lamborghini and then he tells the employee, he's like, and if you work hard every single day and break your back for me, I'll get another one next year.
Right.
It's like, wait a minute.
Right. And that I never really thought about it that way, but the way you were describing the millennials not staying in situations, that's part of the reason why these companies is having trouble hiring right now, because they're still stuck in their ways where we're going to pay you the very bare minimum and make you do all the work and we reap all the benefits. And then a lot of these young kids are like, hey, I'm going to go over here and start my own thing. I'm going to do my own thing and I'm going to make just as much money. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to make my own schedule. And so traditional employers are having a hard time adjusting to that. And we see it not only with Simone Biles, the Olympics, but also, Naomi Osaka when she was in tennis. And I honestly think that's a lot of the guys in USA basketball really just don't really care enough. I think
they're tired. I think, LeBron.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, I'm gonna put my well-being first. I'm not gonna go out here and break my leg and break my back because for something that it's fun and everything like that. But at the end of the day, I gotta get what's best for me.
Right, because they have a finite window to make that.
Yeah,
money. Those guaranteed contracts. A lot of those dudes are still early in their career. They got another big contract that's pending. But let's keep it real about the millennials. A lot of them can make those decisions because they got a mom and dad to go back and live with too. So,
right. The mom and dad are still at that job.
Yeah, mom and dad are still there, whereas we didn't really have that. And I'm not saying one's bad or bad.
Right. No. Yeah.
But that's the case. And to your point, when you talk to a lot of people, man, they just say we can't hire anybody. We can't find good. I know plenty of like small businesses. They're saying like, if anybody that wants to work, but to your point, Lab, you got to pay these people. I saw a story just last week where they said that with minimum wage, there's nowhere in this country that you can work with minimum wage and afford to live. So you have to work 2 jobs. So if I'm somebody who is okay, look, I can get unemployment. If I got children, I'm getting the credit for the children. If I'm getting all these different benefits, and I can stay at home with my kids, I can maybe work on my business to build that business so I don't have to work for these folks, and I can survive, as opposed to let me go and work for this person who's just going to pay me what they can get away with paying me, and I got to struggle and I got to break my back. I can see the perspective where they can say like, why would I do it?
Right.
Why would I go back to work? I'm gonna do what I want to do. And a lot of business owners are like, well, we can't get anybody to work. These people are lazy. Now maybe I'm just greedy. Maybe pay people what they work. Pay them so they can live.
Yeah, you can't tell me a company like McDonald's that profits, so much every year can't afford to pay their people a living wage. You can't tell me that, and not even go up on their prices either. They all it is like you said, greed. I question sometimes, if I was a small business owner, would I be able to pay someone a living wage, or would I want to just have my business to say I have a business and I'm working for myself, or would I make sure that the people that I employ are able to make a decent living as well?
I think if you got somebody who is a good employee, you pay them for what they're worth, because, I know when I was working for a company and I knew they weren't paying me for what I was worth, they got the bare minimum for me. and statute of limitations probably hasn't expired. So I won't tell you what everything else, you know, that transpired, but you know, you can read my mind. You know what I'm saying? So if you got somebody that's worth their salt, you know, you need to pay them. You definitely need to pay them.
It's not just when you get minimum wage, it's not just going to work and paying for rent. When you have a job, you need childcare now. That's childcare is expensive. You got to commute. You got to go to the cleaners. You got to buy lunch. You got to pay to park if you downtown. It's a lot that goes into having a job that you just don't have to worry about if you don't. It's expensive. And if you're not making enough to cover those costs, then maybe it just doesn't make sense. And if companies don't see that, and they don't, because like you said, I think everybody's had a bad employer experience. And I had a job as a paralegal, and it was at the time the best job I had ever had because I wasn't licensed yet. And I'm like, yes, I'm making this little bit of money. We over here saving and doing all this stuff. I was working so much. It was salary. So, you know, once they put you on salary, it's over for you. I'm coming in on Saturdays, making it, making it happen. I made one mistake and they fired me. They had to replace me with not one, but two people because the first girl who I was training to help me, that they really was like, oh, we could just pay her less. I already know what they was on. And then she just never could get it. And then so they ended up having to hire two people and probably ended up paying more because now they got two people with benefits or whatever trying to do the job that I was doing by myself. And after that, I was like, oh, I bet you I don't never spend every Saturday on salary coming in to make stuff happen. You got from the time that I'm supposed to be at work to the time that I get off to get whatever this work needs to be done. And if it don't get done, you need to figure it out because it's your company. This ain't mine.
Yeah, because when you salary and you put in those crazy hours like that, if you really put the pencil to the paper, you know, you ain't making as much as you really think you are when you putting in all those hours. And I know a lot of people who make a ton of money, but they work like 90 hours a week. And I'm just not gonna do it. You know, I'm gonna do the work that you pay me to do, right? But doing more than that when I don't feel like I'm being compensated, and compensation ain't all just about salary, it's benefits, it's respect, right? Respect for my work-life balance. If that's not there, man, then guess what? It just ain't gonna get done because number one, these jobs ain't ours. I found that out when I took a job making tons of money, and then they said, "Oh man, he ain't a good fit. This black dude ain't gonna fit with us. Fox News Republicans. He's out of there. These ain't our jobs. These are their jobs, and they can cancel you in a minute. And you work one of these jobs, stretch yourself out, have a stroke, have a heart attack, and you check up out of there. I bet you they might wait to the end of the day, but before the end of the day is over, they are going to advertise for your job and they're going to replace you just like that. And your family is devastated for the rest of their life. Yeah, so I'm eager to see what happens in the future with Simone, to see what she does going forward. I think she could be a good inspiration for young women, not just young black women, but for young women, period, even though I'm more so concerned about young black women. Like your daughter, Arika, hopefully she inspires them to not only excel in whatever sport they are in, but to stand up for themselves and to speak up for themselves and to put themselves first. Because honestly, this whole deal we talk about, being on the job, whatever, it's about putting yourself first. Now you got to be realistic now, but put yourself first. Are you putting your best foot forward? Are you doing the best that you can? And I don't think there's without any doubt that Simone Biles put her best foot forward and did the best she could representing this country, representing herself and representing her family. Well, we're going to continue to watch Team USA. Hopefully they can get it together. I mean, they've been, doing their thing in the water. The swim team has been, keeping things going, getting medals. Team USA, they might be in trouble. They lost their first game, but they just blew out Iran. We're going to see what happens on the track and field. I know that's where a lot of medals come.
Yeah.
When I was tripped out, they added 3-on-3 basketball.
Yeah, I saw that.
To the Olympics.
This is the first year the U.S. won gold. The women won gold in that.
Yeah, the women just won gold. Were they former college players or
yeah? I saw one girl. I want to say she's in the WNBA or was Kelsey Plum or something like that. Yeah, she's pretty good. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so there's everything, and it's all.
My husband said they need to add football.
They ain't gonna have
that ain't gonna happen. We wouldn't. U.S. would have nobody else to play.
Yeah, that ain't gonna
That's a
happen.
purely American sport.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we'd be dominated. We'd be like,
Oh, one thing though,
back when the Dream Team first got in there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
right. You know, where we talking about the Olympics and mental health and doing what's best for you. I want to share. I know y'all. I don't know if y'all have been keeping up with Maria Taylor though. You know, she left ESPN
Oh.
because of that situation, and she made a power move, and she's over there doing the Olympics now. You know, at NBC. Like one day, literally, the day she left ESPN was the last day of the finals. The next day, she was on her way to Tokyo with NBC. Man, so
yeah, because they try to play her. They try to play her at ESPN. You know, and you know, you saw how, you know, the quote unquote white woman ally, how they really feel about Black women. You know, I don't know if you're familiar with the story, Erika, but
I am. I kind of took a different stance on it because I felt like the rich white men all pitted the two women against each other. Why couldn't we just have both women instead of making the white woman and the Black woman fight over the same job? Why didn't you get rid of one of these millions of white men you got out here sitting behind the bench talking? And so they kind of make women fight themselves just like they make us fight ourselves. Like, you know, oh, well, we only need one Black person. So good luck.
They ain't make her make that call, you know what I'm saying, and insinuate that the only reason why she was getting the job was because she was Black, you know, because the fact of the matter, she's good, and you know, it's not fair, but as women become older, they get pushed out. You saw it happen with Pam Oliver, and nobody put up a fight, and Pam Oliver was very qualified. They start talking about her looks, talking about doing all the different stuff, and she should still be, you know, in the news, on the media, you know, covering sports, because she was highly qualified and fine in my book. So yeah, but yeah,
But see, but
but
that still goes back to the patriarchy, because right, she should still be doing it. It should be spots for all of them. It shouldn't be like
was that
accessible
patriarchy or is that competition though?
That we only need one woman.
I mean, I mean, how many
and
people?
She's got to be young and cute.
But how many people you gonna be out there? Well, first of all, you see, I led with she's highly qualified. Then I said she's fine afterwards. But how many you gonna have on the sideline? I mean, you know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just, I don't necessarily, you know, I'm not the biggest sports fan in the world, so I'm not highly qualified to speak on it, but I feel like every time I turn on the TV, there's definitely plenty old white men on there telling us all about sports that they were not the top performers in.
Right, and that's my only thing with it too, is for the most part, the Black faces you see are former athletes, you know, but everybody, like all the white dudes, most of them never play, you know, and so you like, you got to be more than two.
Or they were the backup. They were the backup. Yeah.
You know, there's more than two qualified Black men that didn't play sports to be on ESPN.
Exactly.
You know,
So we know they got one white man doing prime time for the Olympics, Mike Tirico. No,
I forgot he's white. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right. So for those of y'all who don't know, Mike Tirico does a lot, right? He does I think he does Monday Night Football.
Sunday night, yeah.
Sunday night football. And he comes from ESPN. He also is like the main announcer on the Olympics. And Mike Tirico at one point said that he didn't consider himself a minority or Black. He considered himself Italian. So we're sitting here looking at Mike Tirico. So, you know, we probably need to get a Black man onto the Olympic coverage, because, you know, clearly this Italian man is holding the spot. But
that's a shame.
And I guess the story behind it was he was adopted and raised by, you know, a single mother who was Italian in New York. So maybe he associates himself more with being Italian, or he lives in some sort of world where he's not a Black man. But, you know,
the importance of knowing how others see you.
Right. Ever since I read that story, I just looked at him and shook my head every time I see him on the TV. You know, I can't respect that. I can't respect that at all. But anyway, I think we talked about it enough. Make sure you follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. Make sure you subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. starting to get those YouTube followers up. We need some more. Make sure you leave comments. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. Share the show. Tell everybody about the blackest radio show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. We'll holler at you next time. Peace.
Peace.
See, what up?